We'll continue our discussion about various types of syllabuses. And now we're going to begin with skill-based syllabus. Like before we discuss the contents of this module, I would just like you to take a little pause and think about these questions. What you can do, you could stop the video, pause the video for a while, and just see what you understand by these questions, and then relate this information to the rest of the video, right? So, for example, what do you understand by the term skill-based syllabus, right? It's important to think. And secondly, how would you integrate skill-based syllabus to your language teaching? And thirdly, would you just trace the elements of skill-based syllabus as shown in the National Curriculum for English Language Teaching of Pakistan 2006. Just think about these questions and then watch the rest of the video. Right. Let's start our business. Skill-based syllabus. What it means, what are its merits and limitations? Skill-based syllabus as compared to structural, notional, functional syllabus, it combines both elements. I mean, it lays emphasis on not only understanding the semantic underpinnings of language learning, but also, the pragmatic, these functional, notional aspects of language learning. And what's the main theory, underlying theory behind this? Well, Richards, I remember arguing that language learning is a complex process. It involves behavior formation, behavior change. So language learning is not, a straightforward process. Rather, it involves various dynamics, various variables which could impact upon the performance or the language habits of students. So the underlying theory is just to, not to teach the holistic aspects of language, rather to break them into bits and then, teach those bits in small units. This is what actually means by skill-based syllabus. Or in other words, just to prepare the students to understand the skills of pronunciation, skills of discourse, skills of vocabulary learning, and skills of reading, skills of listening, skills of writing as well. So, for example, instead of, reading the whole text, we could prepare the students to skim and scan. This is one of the skills, right? And it's worth reading here Richard's argument. Language learning, like I said before, is a complex, such as listening to a lecture involves mastery of skills or micro skills. Like I said before, listening for gist or listening for comprehension or comprehension listening. So these are the skills and sub-skills which are required in a skill-based syllabus. And you might agree with Richard's viewpoint here. Okay. Well, what are the advantages then? The merits attached to skill-based syllabus, since it lays emphasis on making the habit of language learning more and more functional. So it lays emphasis on teaching language through small tasks, breaking those tasks into bits, and then teaching language, right? This is how it lays on, and one of the advantages is just the skills it lays or emphasis on to be taught can be transferred from one context to the other context. For example, the skill of skimming and scanning, once learned, could be transferred to the other context once the student progress or move on, right? And there are some limitations. I will just briefly touch upon these ones. What about the overall proficiency level of the students? Although this type of syllabus can prepare students to better understand the structure or the contextual meanings of the language, but what about some of the functions of language? So once they are outside the classroom, they might be struggling. And secondly, this is question which incorporates or which shows how the limitations of this syllabus. Can we just rely on skills? Can we just rely on skills to be taught enough for language learning and teaching? So this is how we have taken a good look at this type of skill-based syllabus, and this is how skill-based syllabus means and what are its advantages and disadvantages.